Hi, Graham Bloxham for Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket today. I've bumped into Barbara Edmonds, the MP for Labour for
Mana.
Mana.
Kia ora.
Greetings.
Good to see you.
Wellington Live is excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Just have to explain to your viewers, these are my Christmas cards. I haven't yet taken them down, so you'll just have to forgive me.
Oh, that's from Jacinda. Well, I tell you what, one thing I've noticed about meeting you is we walk very fast, I think at about 7 k's per hour, and I've picked up in our walk over here that you're a whip.
Yeah, I'm a whip. I am one of the 4 Labour Party whips. The Greens, every party in Parliament has a whip, and basically their job is to ensure that your MPs are where they are when you need to vote, making sure your speakers are all lined up. Because we're in government, for us, we control the order of what's happening on the day. So that also governs about how long our speakers talk for or how short they speak for. And the other thing that most people don't see, because it's more behind the scenes, is providing basically ho order support for our MPs, because it's a really tough job. So making sure they feel supported, whether that's providing them with professional development, talking to them about what their family needs are, and basically also providing the leave mechanism, because you can't be off the precinct without the leave of your whips. So so it's a big job, but it's good. And there's 4 of us. Kieran McAnulty from the Wairarapa is our chief whip. We've got Dr. Duncan Webb from Christchurch, and then we've got Willow Jean Prime from up in Northland. So it's a good combo. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you're from Mountain Mana, which encompasses Kapiti right through to Pororua and
bit further south, we cover Lyndon as well.
All the way up to Lyndon, yeah. And it's a growing area and dynamic, lots of change, not only for corporates but in your community. Tell us about the things that have been happening in the community, and I got a particular focus on housing and the Pacific Island and Maori community. A friend of mine, John Fiso, out there has done a school, and I see lots of exciting things going on. Just can you take us through some snapshots of what's going on out in your area?
Mana is amping. Basically, we are definitely one of the faster growing areas in the country. Lyndon is in the southern end, and you go all the way up to Raumati. We sweep around the airport and head a bit north up to Paraparaumu East. And so basically, we've got some big stuff happening. Like today, I just attended a $3 million funding announcement for Porirua City Council, Ngāti Toa, and for Sustainable Coastlines New Zealand. And that's to do a whole bunch of riparian planting and fencing around our streams and our waterways to help make the Te Awaroa or Porirua Harbour to bring its mauri back to life, because basically through sediment, our rural-urban intensification, basically the sediment seeps into the harbour, and that's why a lot of kaumātua who I talked to of Ngāti Toa, they remember as children being able to go swim in the harbour, pick pippies, there was oysters, there was mussels, being able to fish.
Can you not swim in the harbour now?
Well, I wouldn't swim there. We do a lot of work on wakaama, and on vessels, but actually, particularly after heavy rains, it's not a good place to swim. So for a lot of kaumātua, this is seen as something to restore that mauri, which is why that sort of partnership between the 3 parties is about doing that planting. So we've got, some work happening around the environment. For housing, it is massive. We've got Porirua Regeneration Program, which is an additional 2,000 homes, and the plan goes up to 2039.
Wow, that's a vision.
It is a really big vision. But that's a mixture of both affordable housing but also social housing, because a lot of the stock we have in Porirua East is old, is cold and is damp. So there have already been new homes there. But the biggest problem, which is probably found across the country, you can't build homes unless the pipes that are under the ground are sound.
You're a big fan of Three Waters?
I am a big fan of Three Waters. Anybody who lives in Porirua City should be a fan of Three Waters.
Is it going to go through?
Well, it should go through, and basically I know our minister is working hard to make that happen. For us in Porirua, we wouldn't be able to build additional homes, but the infrastructure getting fixed. So part of it was last year in May, we got 136 million to fix some of the pipes in the east so that we can build an additional 400 homes, which is part of that 2,000 in Porirua East, and get that up and running. Because what would happen happen is one of the big pipes out in Bottomley Park, if you don't fix that pipe, basically you'd get sewage running into the harbour.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of planning, a lot of visionary work going on there.
Yeah, and if you live in Porirua, you know we flood a lot because our stormwater system can't handle heavy rains. You know, it was built in this. It was basically built in the 60s when the population was far less. You know,
What has the population changed from? To
population?
There?
So now it's over 70,000, but I think that's in total.
It's bigger than Upper Hutt.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a bit of a special place. But where I live in Titahi Bay, our beach, basically there are days where you can't swim in it.
Right.
Because the sewer pump system is about 2 bays over.
Yeah.
So when there's an overflow, it flows into Titahi Bay.
Yeah. Interesting, those naughty national kids that got themselves into a position of bullying people and online, you put yourself out there.
When it comes to those comments, I delete them and I hide them when it comes to my page. First of all, it's my social media. I get to be able to control what other people see, because that also fuels what happens, correct? And, if people have valid policy concerns, I'll try and respond to them on social media. Or actually, what I love the most is, here's my team's email address. Let's book a time. Let's talk face to face.
Like we got in touch,
Yeah. There's only 2 times where I've ever felt for my safety and have felt sick, in Parliament. The first time was March the 15th. So I was in the Minister of Police's office. I had to micromanage the firearms bill from the Minister of Police's office and work closely with police to make sure that legislation went through quickly. We used to work really late hours, sometimes leaving after midnight, and making sure our security, that we were safe to get to our cars, because we got a just unbelievable amount of threats.
I've just been taken back by your energy and your. I've heard from people about you work in the community a lot. It's not just on these big flowing issues. You've got a big family of 6 or 7.
Oh, I've got 8.
8 kids, 8 children. Are they all? Some left and some at home?
Yes, I've got 8 children between the ages of 9 and 17. I'm really proud of my eldest girl. She finished college last year. It's her first year of university. Unfortunately, it's online learning at the moment. She does have to go in for tutorials, but she's also working in the COVID and Community Hub. So she helps to deliver food packages to families that need the support during the time.
How old's the youngest?
She is 9, and she's the boss in some sense, but she's not the boss when it comes to home.
She's the boss?
Yeah, she I think she likes to think she's the boss. So, but I was the last born of 4, and there's something that comes with being the last born where you think that everything is achievable right now.
You studied at the same time that you had
Yeah.
children. You kind of just, as if that, you know, what happened there?
So I was in my second year of doing my law and arts degrees at the University of Auckland, and I fell pregnant with our eldest, Acacia. Basically, my husband and I had to make a decision that, one, who's going to keep, you know, do I stop studying or does he stop working, that sort of thing. We made a conscious decision back then that actually me continuing with my study was an investment in our future, our family's future. So basically I went to law school. By the time I finished those conjoint degrees in 5.5 years, noting it actually takes about 5 years to finish them, I finished it in 5.5 years doing some summer school, I was pregnant with number 5.
Wow.
So, but that was only possible because we had a really good family support network. So my mother-in-law, who lived next door, would pop across the fence, watch the children. I would go to university for an 8 o'clock lecture. I'd try and get home by 4, get dinner on, do the things that you got to do as a mother. You know, once the family was settled for the night, I would open my laptop. Oh gosh, I can feel the pain already. open it about 10:30 at night and start studying. You know, and obviously some nights you didn't go to sleep because you had assignments due sort of the next day. But I look back on that time really fondly for one particular reason. My husband, so that I wasn't lonely at night, you know, being on the kitchen table, you know, fully hapu, having this baby squirm around because I didn't like, you know, mum sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He would drag the mattresses into the lounge and make sure all the babies were there asleep, because actually sometimes I was breastfeeding too. So if
what
a baby
a
woke up,
beautiful guy.
Yeah.
You're a lucky girl. They say behind every successful MP is a wonderful man. What's your husband's name?
Or spouse.
Yeah, spouse.
Yeah, so Chris.
Chris.
But yeah, so he's been a stay-at-home dad since we moved to Wellington 14
wonderful.
years ago.
So we've got a question from the Wellington Live people, and one of the questions was for you, Barbara, about what would be some advice that you would give a 20-year-old yourself in terms of celebrating Wellington's woman and inspiration.
Absolutely don't sweat the small stuff. I know I think looking back, I did sweat a lot of small stuff, but I think perhaps when you get a little bit older, you realise that there's a bigger picture to things, and I think as a woman we do a lot and we take on a lot. Like I was working professionally as a lawyer. I was also involved with the school board of trustees, with the rugby club, doing pro bono work for them on their committees, running tag during the summer. And, me and my husband would tag team and run whoever the kids, we were taxi drivers basically. But it came down to understanding what you wanted to achieve, what your purpose was, and then allowing that to drive your energy. So the small stuff doesn't really help drive that energy to boost you to keep driving for that bigger stuff. But I've gotten to the point where finally after 14 years where my husband being a stay-at-home dad, my house is a mess and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to other women about leadership?
Leadership. It's one of those things, being really clear in yourself what your purpose is for leading. So your value set will help drive you, because actually it's really hard being in leadership, and it's really hard juggling a lot of things, particularly if you do have a family, or some of us women, we don't necessarily have a young family. We might be looking after older parents, or we're responsible, for a whole friendship group, etc. One of those things, again, what will help drive you and make sure that you have the energy to get up and do a good job at whatever that role is just ensuring that you understand what your purpose is and why you are doing what you're doing. So for my husband and I, we did a lot of community stuff around education, and what drove that was because we knew we had choices as to where our kids could go. We could afford to send our kids to town schools, but we understood there were a lot of people in our local community who had no choice but to send their kids to a local school. So we got involved because we wanted to make sure that every school that the children in our community chose to go to was a good school. And the only way that you can ensure that is by getting involved. So for us, that's what drove us, because even though we've got 8 kids and we've got minimal time compared to other people, we saw it as an investment in our community by giving back and getting involved in education through boards of trustees, through driving fundraising for trips, through doing the things that most parents do. But for us, it was just slightly bigger because we had 8.
It's been a tough couple of years.
Oh, major.
Tough couple of years for everyone. Is Labour going to get elected next time?
Of course. Yeah.
Is it going to be tough? Is it going to be hard to bring the people in behind you, given the things that are happening in the communities?
Every election is hard. So every election, I'll treat it like that. Whether we're up in the polls, down in the polls, who knows where the polls are? There's only really one poll that really matters, right? Election day. So
there is a bit of a slide going on, and we certainly are hearing that there's a lot of momentum coming to try and, there's a lot of hurt out there, a lot of people struggling. We were interviewing Ginny Anderson, and we came away going, I think it's almost as though things are great, but they're not.
Yeah, and you've got to acknowledge that a lot of people are having really hard times at the moment, For my husband and I, when I was studying, he was pretty much just above the minimum wage in the job that he was doing. It got to the point we only had $8 in our hand after all the bills went out the door. That's still $8, but still it was tough. At the time we only had 1 or 2 kids. So totally acknowledge that there are tough times, which is why we had to do things like the ruck changes, like the drop in fuel prices, why we're doing lunches in schools. And for a lot of the schools in Porirua, they benefit from that. The free period products, removing school fees, free NCA fees. And then the winter energy payment is a massive boost for those who are community service card holders and pensioners at the time they need it the most during winter. The government can't do everything, and we need to depend on our community as well to be able to help us.
I just want to put you under pressure a wee bit now and ask you, as Wellington in Your Pocket is an experience engine that we're building, we can put together a business or a place or an event into an experience. What would you do, string 4 or 5 or 3 things together for an afternoon of an experience?
Oh, so let's start from the top of mana. So we will start on Kapiti Island. We will get basically have a walk to the summit, come back down. You can have lunch at the cafe there, or bring your own packed lunch, or have a swim. It's beautiful to swim there. Just might want to take some aqua shoes because the rocks there can be a little bit sharper. Then catch the ferry across to Paraparaumu. Now, you've got 2 choices. One, you can either catch the train back down to Porirua, past the Paikokariki Hills, or now you've actually got Te Awa Nui or Te Rangi Hiritsa or Transmission Gully to drive on. That basically makes the trip super fast, and because it's a brand new thing, I think go and have a drive on there. Come through to Porirua. You've got all the basically awesome little cafes. You've got Thai food. You've even got the mall there. You've got Jaylon's, which is this little coffee house that's been there for over 30 years. You've got Mahi Cafe. You've got Pepper Mill. You've got Kaizen. And then what I would do, because you need to walk your lunch off, you would go and walk up Rangituhi, which is Rangituhi is in Porirua at the back of Alsden. You basically walk up the top. Once you're at the top of that summit, you can see the whole of Mana.
Wow.
From Linden, sweeping round, coming through up to, if on a really clear day, you can see up to Kapiti Island. Sometimes you can see up to Taranaki, Mount Taranaki on a really, really good day. So
you're out. Have you stayed overnight at the island, or have you gone out there in the morning?
No, not for overnight. I've gone there for a whole day.
So you've gone there, ferry, walk to the top, down, cafe, ferry back, drive back.
Yep.
Cafe, walk it off with a view out to Taranaki.
Yeah, man, nice and simple.
Outstanding. Well, that's so we can live vicariously through Barbara with that bit of exercise, couple of lattes, perhaps.
Yep, or you can pack your own lunch, but it's just an extra bit of weight if you've got to carry it up a hill.
I'll leave that behind. Thank you so much for the catch-up. Lots of energy and inspiring work in the community. Good luck in the next election next year and with all the busyness. The people from Wellington Live asked for this interview, so thank you. Thank you very, very much, and we appreciate it.